Alright, today I plan to do an in-depth analysis of Black Mirror Season 5. I'll do my best to break down the unique themes and narrative ideas buried in each episode, hopefully so that you can glean some more enjoyment from them. Ready? Alright, let's go. First up is Striking Vipers. This one was really weird. I'm sure it made quite a few people uncomfortable at parts. I know I certainly was. But it generated some new ideas that gave us all a lot to think about, and its theming was done really well. To be specific, there's a strong contrast between the two main characters, shown from the very beginning, that gets more important as the episode goes on. Our two main characters, Danny and Karl, are polar opposites. They are each a direct reflection of the other, and that allows them both to fall into the awkward situation that they do. Let's take a closer look. Danny has a stable lifestyle. He has a wife, a kid, a normal job, and a normal house. What he has in spades is familiarity, and what he craves is excitement. Karl, on the other hand, has the opposite. He has all the excitement you could ever want in his Tinder dates, his fancy apartment, his nice car, but he craves a deeper connection. He wants familiarity. Danny ends up finding this excitement by doing something he shouldn't. Karl finds his familiarity by entering into this really strange relationship with his old friend. We see that Danny and his wife Theo are actually very similar. They both desire an escape from familiarity, a night of excitement, and we learn that in the opening scene. In order to enjoy themselves, they pretend they don't know each other. They crave that sense of something different and new. Karl barges in and disrupts that, reminding them of how they all know each other. He immediately seeks out the familiar, emphasizing their connections to each other. And after our first time skip, it's the same. Danny is eyeing up another woman, and Theo is tempted by other men, despite their stable relationship. Karl has excitement, a fancy apartment filled with entertainment, and a relationship with a young, attractive woman. But he wants something familiar. We see he can't really talk to this girl or form any connection beyond the physical, so he gets the game to relive his old memories with his friend Danny. This is why later on, after the two had stopped having their virtual reality affair, Danny was able to move on, but Karl wasn't. Danny could still recreate that excitement with his wife, Theo. We saw a glimpse of that in the beginning. The two can work together to get themselves excited again. But Karl can't reproduce familiarity. It's not something you can just make happen. That's why he tries all kinds of different partners. Yes, even the polar bear, and none of them satisfy him. His apartment is filled with alcohol, fast food, and what appears to be a syringe, possibly hinting at drug use. He fills his life with things that are exciting and enjoyable because he can't find that stability, familiarity with that deeper human connection. That's also why, in the very end, Karl is content with their new arrangement. He doesn't need to hook up every week or every month, he just needs some semblance of order. That's what he's ultimately looking for. That's why when Danny put an end to it, he recommended the first Sunday of every month. He craves that structured familiarity. Danny and Theo learn from the experience too. They get one night a year of excitement without sacrificing everything they built together. Certainly a strange episode, but it definitely gives you a lot to ponder, and I think that's what Black Mirror is all about. By the way, if you're a Black Mirror fan, go ahead and drop a like below so I'll know to make more videos about it in the future. Now on to the second episode, Smithereens, which is really just insane, because I both loved it for its story and hated it for that ending. Seriously, a cliffhanger? But as we'll soon see, that was actually a bit of a statement within itself. Whenever someone watches this episode, they're obviously going to catch on to the very basic moral, that when we spend too much time glued to our technology, we lose touch with the real world around us, and that can be incredibly detrimental. Seems like the most boring and simple lesson they could teach. But underneath, there's actually some interesting commentary on how our government and society is structured, especially through the lens of the internet. When the UK police are trying to get a profile on the gunman Chris, they are quickly outclassed by the Americans who are doing the same. But it's not because they're American, it's because they're in control of an online social media network. They have this gigantic database of user-generated information to pull from, technology to listen in on a phone line that's assumed to be on hold, and we even see Billy Bauer activate God mode, which lets him plug in a few bits of data to immediately pull up Chris's phone number. There are all these massive invasions of privacy that Smithereen could choose to perform on any of their millions of users. And the thematic reason it's so important for Smithereen to be located in America is because America is much more of a corporate nation than the UK. Private companies have a lot of power here. While these sci-fi stories typically focus on how an overbearing government can control you or spy on you, this episode makes it clear that companies can do the same. You think Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat, they don't all have similar access to our data? That's why Billy Bauer was depicted as the way he was. Long brown hair, the beard, white robes, in a desert. He's meant to look like Jesus. When you own a social media company like that, you're basically a god. You have more knowledge and power than some governments do, hence the term God mode. Hell, a company knew more about that one lady's daughter than she did. A corporate entity understood a person more than her own mother. Billy recognizes how much power social media has and how much control it can have over you. That's why he chooses to go on retreat from it. So how about that ending then? Why aren't we shown what happened? Well, because we're like the people they show at the end, glued to their phones. We want to peek into the lives of others. We want to see the drama, the intrigue. Notice all throughout the episode, things only worked out for a character when they stopped relying on technology and tried to make a human connection. The negotiator tried to use the info he got from scouring social media to speak to Chris, but that didn't work. Billy couldn't talk down Chris using scripted lines, he had to just speak from the heart. That poor mother couldn't get her daughter's information from brute forcing the password, she got it because she emotionally connected with Chris. And perhaps, if Chris had attempted to open up to his support group instead of using a rideshare app, social media, and a cell phone to talk to Billy Bauer, he could have gotten a happier ending as well. So 3 lessons in this episode. Corporations have our data, and that's scary. We shouldn't spend all of our time using technology, we should spend our time making real human connections. All in all, pretty good episode. What's next? Rachel, Jack, and Ashley 2. So this episode was pretty divisive for fans of the show, and that's understandable. It's very cliche for a Black Mirror episode, although it does make good use of the concept of cookies from previous seasons, and I appreciate that. The obvious conceit of this story is that Hollywood is a machine that chews up and spits out its stars after they've been milked for all the money they can make for their producers. Having Miley Cyrus play Ashley O makes this allegory almost painfully obvious. Miley was raised from a young age to be a money-making machine for Disney, and the detrimental effect it had on her mental health wasn't exactly a secret. In fact, it's one of the more well-known recorded instances of that industry's process, right next to Britney Spears and Lindsay Lohan. But where I think this episode shines is in its bittersweet ending. After making her evil aunt's scheme known to the world, Ashley O becomes a punk rocker, and she even plays a show with Jack. In this show, we see a couple Ashley fans leave the venue in disgust, very clearly upset that their idol is not who they thought she was. And even though Rachel is happy that Ashley is safe now, happy that Jack can finally express herself in front of others, she's clearly trying very hard to enjoy the music. She doesn't like it. I think this is the show's way of vindicating Jack's worldview over Rachel's. Earlier in the episode, Jack makes mention of how everything Ashley 2 says is fake, and she's not wrong. While none of the advice or platitudes that Ashley 2 said were what the original Ashley actually believes, they also weren't bad per se. Believing in yourself, trying your best, these are good morals to teach to kids. But in the Black Mirror universe, everything is a bit more pessimistic. The show seems to be endorsing the idea that simply believing in yourself and trying your best won't always help you in the long run. That being kind and likable is less important than sticking it to those in power. The real world isn't all sunshine and rainbows, and this show is here to tell us that, even if we don't like it or if we aren't ready to hear it yet. That's Rachel. She's 15. She's not ready for this semi-nihilistic way of looking at things, but she's trying to adopt it anyway. I think this episode had a big missed opportunity. It could have taken the time to speak more about the way celebrity worship can damage our real-life relationships. It focused more on how messed up the acting and music industries can be. Like I said, missed opportunity. I think this season of Black Mirror is moving away from the theme it has stuck to for the past several seasons, where each episode was about a horror story focused around some new technological development. These new episodes seem much more in the vein of narrative exploration than cautionary tales or spooky stories. These 3 episodes had more social commentary and thought-provoking content than some of the previous episodes, in my opinion, but none of them were really scary at all, which kind of sucks the fun out of doing this, as a Halloween-type episode. That's why I left it for November. But that said, I think they're a good addition to the Black Mirror series, except for maybe the last one, but that's just my opinion. What's your favorite episode of Black Mirror? Let me know down in those comments. And while you're at it, make sure to subscribe and ring that bell. I hope you liked the video. Until next time, stay frosty.